Hey guys, so you're talking about cats and mice,
Let's start out talking about my back problem.
and somehow you got to cats and mice, huh?
Of this stuff in the walls.
Oops. So have you gotten rid of the bats?
There's something else in there. So when they plugged all the holes, I think we have a few rodents that are running around
Oh,
because we hear them in the walls and they can't get out. So we're just, I don't know what they're eating or drinking, but
well,
it should be
yeah.
dead. You know.
That's one of the joys of living in the country, I guess.
Well, same in the city. We had mice in our house in San Francisco.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
trapped them.
we've got mice, but that's where cats come in.
So our cats didn't even bother the mice. The mice had to run out of the house.
Yeah. No, we adopted two from a field, so if there's a mouse sound anywhere in this house, they're on it.
They've got it, huh?
Yeah.
They're barn cats. Okay. Oh, I was going to say something yesterday, and I think that I forgot to say it, so I'm going to say it now. You remember when we were talking about the first move, and we were talking about this part right here, all right? And I was saying, well, what it really is a version of what's called Psi. So it's Peng Lu An Ji Tsai Lea Jiu Kao. It's really the fifth energy. And that's true, it is. However, that fifth energy is actually largely made up of two of the first four energies. So it's actually a combination of Lu and An. Lu and An, right? So you can think of this as Lu and An rather than Psi, right? Does that make sense? So we can still stay in our first four energies for this form, but just understand that there are more complex versions of this. Rand, you were not here yesterday, right?
Correct.
Correct. Okay. Well, we are working on move number 2, and we're going through a process of analyzing it. You guys are going through a process of analyzing it. And it really is a process. It's not like you have to be right. It's a process of learning, and you are going to be sometimes wrong and sometimes right, and we just go through this process. What I hope is that by the time we finish this whole form, because we are going to do the whole form, you will feel really comfortable with this process, and it will become relatively automatic, so that when you're doing a form or working with things, you just understand this stuff without even thinking about it, really. Okay, let's do the first section of the form a couple of times just to warm up. I'll do the first one. Ran, are you working with your baby there?
Yeah, I'll have to. I'll participate when I can.
Well, that's okay. I'm not going to call on you to lead them because you got to take care of the baby. So I don't remember who did this yesterday, but maybe Catherine can do the second one here. So I'll lead the first one. Catherine can lead the second one. watch. Uh, People have a tendency to forget the on, the going down. And because we sort of illustrate Peng Lu Jian on with the hands usually, you sort of associate them with the hands, but it's not really the hands, it's really your core body. So when you've done this move here, right, it's on. And it's not just the knees. It's the center of the body. Then you move. Right? On. Lu. Peng. Lu. On. Chi. Right? And again, on. Make sense? Okay, Catherine, go.
Okay.
Good. Okay, I want to move ahead with move number 2, and Jill was leading us through that, so we're going to catch up with Jill in a minute. But I want to make one comment about doing your form. Don't forget that there are actually 2 of you. There's one on the left and there's one on the right. And I say that because there's a very common way of moving the body that is incorrect for Tai Chi and Qigong. And that is to move both sides at the same time. I understand, makes sense, but it's not right. And it's not right because our core body has a certain width. So when the energy is moving, from one side to the other side, or you're using both sides of the body, you have to account for that width. What I mean is, I'm going to illustrate this by, imagine there's somebody punching at my nose. All right. So his fist is coming in, his arm is coming in, he's going to punch me in the nose. And so one way to deal with that in Tai Chi is you catch him at the wrist and you follow up at the elbow and you just move him aside. The way a lot of people do that, kind of naively at the beginning, is to move both hands, the right side and the left side, at the same time, so it looks like this. All right? But that's not correct. You're going to engage the wrist first, because that's what's coming to you first. Then you're going to engage the elbow or the shoulder. So actually, the right way to do it is more like this: 1, 2. 1, 2. Right. 1, 2. Now I'm exaggerating a little bit because they come together much more quickly. Right? 1, 2. It looks at first like they're moving at the same time, but they're not. Now, so what does this have to do with the form? Well, think about that move we just did. Right? 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 2. Right? It's not this, guys. Where the left and right are locked together. It's, right? 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. All right? Now, like I said, I was exaggerating a little bit, the 1-2-ness of it. But really it feels like that. It's like there's an internal beat that goes on. And you want to catch that. And the reason there's a beat is because of the width of your body, right? This arm can go, but then there's the width of the body, and then this arm can go, if that makes any sense. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. All right, 1, 2. All right. 1, 2. 1, 2. As if you didn't have enough to worry about. Okay. back to Jill. Actually, I should say a couple more things about this. This is important because it has a lot to do with your internal timing, the sense of timing. Another way to think about this is your feet. right? So you've got one foot and then you've got the other foot. There's a distance between them. You can't move both feet at the same time. You have to hop or something, right? In fact, you got to move one foot and then move the other foot. It's 1, 2, right? 1, 2, 1, 2. When you dance, it's always 1, 2, right? And so a lot of the internal rhythm of Tai Chi comes out of awareness that you've got two symmetrical sides of the body. You've essentially got two of you, right? A left and a right side. We can complicate this by saying you also have an upper and a lower body and a back body and a front body, but let's keep it simple right now and just talk about left and right bodies. And the timing on this is important because it ought to suggest to you as time goes on and you get more familiar with this, places in the form of rest. Now the rests may be really big, or more often they're kind of like mini rest points. But what I mean is, I've said this before, Master Zhang used to say all the time, every movement all the way, right? What he meant was when you do Peng, when you do Lu, when you do An, when you do Ji, do the whole energy. Don't just go halfway and then rush on to something else. The place where most people fail to complete the energy is with the energy on. Why? Everybody cheats on. Right? Because on is more difficult. It requires you to sink the whole body. It takes more energy. So one of the things that you should think of when you do the form and you're practicing is it almost feels like you're extending the on. You're not. You're actually just completing the on, but it almost feels like you're extending. So go for that. Let it go a second or so longer than you think. Let the mud settle. Let the mud settle and the water clear. There's another way I've mentioned before of thinking about this that actually can relieve a lot of the energy that you use. Don't think of on as pressing down or going down at your knees, all right? Yeah, you will go down at your knees, but don't think of it that way. Think of on, you're standing in a pool of water, water's up to maybe your top of your thighs. You've got a beach ball under each hand. And somebody pulls the plug out of the pool and the water starts to go down. The beach balls are going to go down automatically. You just follow them. It's very gentle. That can save you a lot of energy. It also makes you feel much lighter when you have that kind of imagery in your head and that kind of imagery in your body. All right? So when you're doing this, all right, just follow the beach balls down. And follow the beach balls down. Follow the beach balls down. Follow the beach balls down. Right? I didn't say, as long as we're doing this move, I should say this, all right? When you get to this place, there's a connection between your hands. And when you go like this, it's like stretching taffy. There's a force. You have to push into this here. You have to pull up here, right? And then when you let go, bam, it comes back together.
Is that taffy pulling a different energy?
No,
Oh,
no, it's just a different mindset.
okay.
It's called pulling silk.
Mm,
You're pulling silk. Um, Silk referring to your chi, and as you get more familiar with this, you're going to feel your chi inside as silken threads. So again, this pulling the silk is, it's not like like that, you know. It's very gentle. But there's that sense of opening or pulling and then closing again. Any other questions? That sense of pulling silk happens all the time, guys. Every time you open and close, you're actually pulling silk. So, right? Pull silk. And then it comes back together. Pull silk. And it comes back together. Pull silk. And it comes back together. Again, it's very light. Something I've been thinking about, as long as we're on this, I've been thinking about for the last week. This is a good place to say it. When you do a movement like this, the three circles, pull silk. It's a very light feeling of pulling silk out of the center and between the hands. And when the hands come back together, can you feel their magnetic attraction for each other? Right? There's like a force going on in between. It's very light, but it's very gently pulling the hands together. Pung, Lu, An, Ji, Pung, right? Every movement in Tai Chi and Qigong always got that. Right? Just be aware of those feelings, right? This is learning to move in the way that Master Feng described as swimming in the air. You're swimming in the air. It requires not physical force, but it requires just a little mental and energetic force to open. Because there's a little pressure. There's a little pressure on the outside. And when you come together again, now there's a little pressure on the inside. Just as if you were doing this in water. Yeah, Kevin.
Oh, you said there's an attraction, but I've always thought I was squeezing something.
Well, you can think of it that way too. every metaphor is worth exploring. So you can think of this as squeezing something, but that will do one set of things in your body, and you can feel it. Another way to think of it is there's nothing in between. The hands are attracting each other. Just try it and see the difference. Right? One is not necessarily right or wrong. They're just different. Okay, so Jill, where were we yesterday?
Good question. Um, first a question. So it's like when we talk about going all the way, especially with Peng and with G, Peng is literally to the ends of the universe expansion, and G
Yes.
is to the pre.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Okay,
Is
thank
that the
you.
question? Yes.
Yes.
But just remember, when you're, say, going to the ends of the universe, it's not this.
No.
It's not your physical body. It's your mind and your energy body, or you could say your subtle body. Right? You don't have to, and you should not hyperextend any of your joints.
Mhm. And it's always 45 degrees in front.
45 degrees in front, and keep your elbows, in fact, keep all your joints soft, not hyperextended. Never hyperextend your elbows or your knees.
Mhm.
Don't you can hyperextend any joint, but those are the two that really usually people hyperextend.
Right.
Why not hyperextend? If you start doing push hands and you're in the habit of hyperextending an elbow, you're going to end up getting hurt. And it won't necessarily be your partner's fault because they're not in control of your body. You are.
Mhm.
You keep, and if you're lucky, you'll learn this the hard way without getting your arm broken. Right? When you hyperextend a joint like this and you're kind of doing a little push hands with someone, right? Um, and that joint gets knocked, it can get hurt. It will hurt, and it will feel like, either it came really close to being broken or actually being broken. Don't do that. Always keep flex in your arms like this.
Yeah,
Kevin, I see you
I was
nodding.
going to say,
So go ahead, Joe.
well, what I was going to tell you is my left shoulder
Yeah.
is a good teacher because it's actually in some sort of cycle. And if I do it right, guess what? It doesn't hurt.
Doesn't hurt.
And also my left, I took a fall and fell on my left buttocks right on a rock.
Ow. How long ago?
It was just I guess like 3 days ago
Oh, ouch.
or a couple of days ago.
I thought you were supposed to be meditating. What kind of meditating is that?
Well, we have this thing called aimless wandering. I took a path that I didn't realize was so, just basically I stepped on some loose gravel and
Yes, and your feet went out from underneath you and you
yeah,
landed on your rock.
yeah.
Well, I also took a fall and landed on my right ham here
Mhm.
when I was maybe 22 or something like that, and I still deal with the results from that. So don't do that. Be careful.
Well,
Okay, I'm gonna come back to something that you said here because it's important, but I want to get to what Kevin had to say here first. Kevin, what did you have to say?
About the squeezing and the,
I don't know. You had your hand up. Then we went to Jill. Okay, Jill. Um, I'm going to ask you to do the first two moves, and I want you to do them slowly. And at a certain point, I'm going to say stop. I want you to freeze. It's like, you know how we played freeze tag when we were kids? You had to freeze in whatever position you were in.
sure.
Even your eyes, all right? But I want you to listen. Don't go too fast. I want you to listen and just freeze right then. You other guys, Rand and Catherine, all right, and Kevin, I want you to watch this because this is important. Okay, go. Stop. Stop. All right. Now, look. Yeah, now you're going to have to stay right there while I talk, so sorry. Look at her upper shoulder. Catherine, look at her upper shoulder. This is important. Look at it. You see how it's like this? Okay, well, she's doing two things wrong. One is she's got her spiral up like this, and that's going to raise the shoulder, and it's going to put a lot of strain on her shoulder joint. Watch my hand. Yes. So, okay, go ahead and rest, Jill. This is very, very common when people start Tai Chi. Is they raise their chi, which is another way of saying they're hyperextending a joint, and hyperextending the shoulder joint is very, very common. You want to avoid that, and the way to avoid that is just remember, you can still keep your hands up, just keep them up like this with your elbows pointed down at the floor, more or less. Right?
Really why
Just
my
make,
shoulder hurts.
well, it really will put a huge strain. Now, Jill, imagine that you're doing push hands with someone and you go like this, and if they're at all trained, right, they're going to feel your chi go up and they're just going to push you out backward. So not only will you go out, but you might get hurt going out too. So you don't raise and hyperextend your shoulder like this, right? Keep it rolled down and in. So you don't do this. Right? Try it again.
Okay.
That was better. Oh yeah, you have a real. It was better than it was before. It's better.
It wants to go up.
Yes, yes, it's a habit. Master Zhang, Master Zhang would go, Mao Bing, ni yola Mao Bing, ni yola Mao Bing. You have a bad habit. Habits are not conscious. If they were, we wouldn't have habits, right? So it requires quite a bit of work to soften a habit down and gently let it go away. But this is a good one to pay attention to yourself. Do any of you guys work in front of mirrors? Catherine, yes. Kevin, yes. Okay. Mirrors are good. They're good tricks because you can watch for habits that you are not conscious of, but you might catch in the mirror. You look at it and you go, wait, what am I doing? I shouldn't do that. I shouldn't have my elbow up like that. Right? If without the mirror, you might never notice that. So I'm acting as a mirror in this case, but you can just use a mirror as a mirror and watch yourself and see if you're conforming to the basic principles. Don't hyperextend a joint, for instance.
Lift an elbow.
Well, and as you just said, habits don't just go away like that. They're deeply rooted in the body habits, and they take usually 6 months to a year to very gently just sort of wash them out slowly over time. Any questions? Okay, as usual, we spent the entire time doing other things than what we were supposed to be doing, but those are really important points that everybody should watch out for. All right. Okay, guys, we'll pick it up next Saturday here and finish move number 2. All
Okay.
right.
My apologies, but I will be gone next weekend.
Well, then we'll have to do it without you, and you'll have to watch the
Yeah.
tapes
I
of
will.
it. All right.
Yes.
Okay, guys, have yourselves a great day. We'll see you next time. Ciao.